Okay, our curriculum for tonight is cross sides top. So what I want to start with is reviewing Fundamental 5 from cross side top, doing a few drills to sort of reinforce the Fundamental 5, and then look at some hold down positions from top. And then show you some things about posture and pressure that I wish I had learned early on that I didn't. That I either learned later on or sort of figured out from experience that I think will help with the cross-side top game. The type of cross-side top game I want to work tonight is the crushing pressure game, which is I think the game everybody needs. So you can develop a floating cross-side top game where you move around a guy a lot and then try to catch stuff in transition, and that's a cool game. But I think everybody needs a good solid crushing pull-down top game. That's what we're going to work. So we'll look at the Fundamental 5 and then we'll break it down a little bit with some drills so you can use it. Because some of you, maybe your first time hearing that term, and some of you have seen it a whole bunch. So let's look at some of it. Can we, Brooks? So, quick review of Fundamental 5 for holding cross-side top. Fundamental number 1 is to block out the guard, which means keep the bottom person from pulling guard. That's our number 1 fundamental, which means it's our top priority, and the very first thing that we have to do is keep the bottom person from pulling guard. I have 3 different things I can use to keep the bottom person from pulling guard. Number 1 is my hand. Just wrap it in on his hip. That works great. Number 2 is my knee, and it'll be the knee on the same side as his hip. I just bring that knee up in contact with his hip. That's number 2. And then number 3 is my own hip. If my hip is touching his, then it blocks out his ability to pull guard, either with a sit out in this direction, or in theory, sit out in this direction as well. You do the same thing. So fundamental number 1, blocking out the guard, hand, knee, or hip. That's number 1. Fundamental number 2 is lock down the upper body. Locking down the upper body means both of your shoulders are touching the mat. That's all it really means. What we'll work tonight as a fundamental for locking down the upper body is the shoulder justice, which is simply a under the head cross space here, locking the shoulders down. So we'll work that position. But there are other positions you could use to lock down the upper body. But it essentially means I'm keeping his shoulders on the mat. That's number 2. Fundamental number 3 is killing the near arm. Somebody who's got a good bottom game is going to use this bottom arm here to frame, oftentimes on my hip. Yeah. And so killing the near arm means making this arm unavailable as a frame or tool so that it's just simply dead weight. So now I've killed that near arm. Blocking out the guard, locking down the upper body. I've got 3. Fundamental number 4 is attacking the far arm above the elbow, which means between elbow and shoulder. I'm attacking. Most of your subs from cross side are going to be on this far arm. Or attacking the far arm will set up most of your subs, even if they're ones that are not on the far arm. So for example, attacking this arm will set up my collar chokes. Attacking collar chokes will set up this arm. And where I attack is from the elbow to the shoulder, so that's number 4. They're cumulative, so I'm blocking out the guard, killing the near arm, locking down the upper body. Only when I have those 3 do I go to number 4, which is attacking the far arm here. And then number 5 is important but subtle, and it's shift and move when necessary. And we'll see the shift and move when necessary when we start breaking down this bottom arm and we start looking at how to kill it and how to adjust to the pressure that the bottom guy gives. That's the fundamental 5 for holding cross-side bottom. And they're not goals that you accomplish and then leave behind. They're goals that are cumulative, so you add on. So you start out by doing number 1, and then you go to doing number 1 and number 2. Then you go to doing 1, 2, and 3 all at the same time. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you don't do 1 and then finish it. So at the end, you're doing all 5 at the same time. If you lose out on one of the earlier ones, you back all the way back up, so you do not pass go. If I'm working on step number 3 and I lose number 1, I go back to the start and start over. I don't ignore it. So at no time when I'm holding top would I be doing 2 and 3 and forgetting about 1, in other words. So it's a nice way to begin to look at the game, and it also helps you from a perspective of top guy, because when the bottom guy starts escaping, you can usually pinpoint it to you're screwing up one of those 5. And if you can figure out what it is, then it's easier to troubleshoot your game. So that's what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do is a quick drill, and it's a blocking out the guard drill. So it's going to be a call-out drill, and I'm going to call out hand, knee, or hip. Hand, knee, or hip. And all I want you to do is prevent the bottom guy from pulling guard by using either your hand, your knee, or your hip. The only thing the bottom guy is going to do is repeatedly try to pull guard over and over and over again. He's not going to do any other escapes, but pull guard. So when I say hand, bring your hand in, so you got 2 hands on the near side. When I say knee, bring your knee in, touch the hip, and then move your hand. And then when I say hip, for now, sit out towards the head. Like that. Hand, knee, and hip. After we do the drill, we'll come back and look at the postures a little more carefully. But for now, let's just do that, okay? All right, with your partner.